I play a lot of China. Out of 1,400 hours I have on Hoi 4, 1,100 are probably on China. China. I want to start by defining what is China. China is anything with the Warlord state, national spirit, the communist Chinese focus tree, or the nationalist Chinese focus tree. I'll also include these two. They're in a unique situation, but they are Japanese inventions and China is the material. We'll go northeast to southwest, and we'll do this quickly. I don't want to waste your time. So how many Chinas are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 9 Chinas. 9 fucking Chinas. Every warlord can become China, so they're all good to play. They're all meta. You might think like Xinjiang has no economy, no manpower, it's just bad. But when they annex China, the capital is now literally the farthest possible distance it can be from Tokyo. So you have all the time in the world to kill as many Japanese people in the horrible terrain before they get there. You can modernize. You can always outgrind the enemy in a war of attrition as China. And since any warlord can become China, the capitals are what you want to consider. That's where your supplies are coming from. That's what kind of changes the game when you play a warlord. And they start with different economies, but they're all in this second to bottom category. What's up from that is communist China, because communist China is a really competitive China. The last category is just China. China is the opposite of communist China in the sense that it gets huge military debuffs, but its economy is busted. You have the Chinese economic miracle. There's a way to get a 55% reduction to consumer goods just through focuses as China. In the late game, communist China kind of comes out on top though, and I'll explain this when I get there. So what China is the best China? The truth is any China can end up on top, especially if you're the player and all the other Chinas are AI. But communist China can even end up on top when both Chinas are players. We're gonna pretend that they are declaring independence because that's the only way that you can be competitive. You have to get rid of Japan, which means the Japanese war in China looks very different. It looks almost desperate. You can encircle them and destroy the entire Japanese army in Asia. You can take Korea really quickly. And you take this northeast corner, this is a very convenient position. You have good supply, which is rare in China. So even if you don't kick Japan completely off the continent, their situation in China becomes like super fucking tenuous. Menguko on the other hand doesn't have a focus tree to compete and gets no cores on any of China. It has a horrible economy, but it has a good leader who gets bonuses to interesting things. And if you have a Chinese tributary state, that could be like, really useful. So it's possible, but it's not competitive. The only salvation is an early civil war, like flipping to a different ideology really quickly and bucking Japan. You know what I mean? It's in a tenuous position. It's the only warlord that Japan gets a war goal on directly through Marco Polo Bridge incident. But it doesn't suffer from the same army debuffs that China or Japan get in the war. And then when it adopts one of the other China's focus trees, communist China or China, it can get further bonuses to defending and attacking on core territory. And it can enter the political landscape, scheming to take over all of China. You know what I mean? That's how every warlord becomes competitive. Moving to Shibisan warlords have unique bonuses to cavalry that you can get, which is fucking awesome. As all of these smaller nations, you want to get one army of 24 guys as fast as possible. If they're cavalry, that is preferable because cavalry is fastest early game. You then invest in modernizing that one army and then politically take over China. And then you modernize by mechanizing and motorizing. You don't neglect getting support equipment. You care about support equipment like you care about your own children. Don't be fooled. Any warlord can be any ideology. China has to be non-aligned or democracy. Communist China, I believe, has to be communist, but any warlord can adopt any ideology. Maybe some might not have a fascist demagogue, so don't be fooled that Xinjiang is communist. You can have your Uyghur Khanate, Yina, the most beautiful province in China. And if you want like you want a fascist playthrough but you don't want to go Manchukuo, this is your guy. His history is just pathetic, but this is your guy. I mean, he wasn't ambitious, he didn't do anything, but I'm sorry, I'll move on. Him on the other hand, this is the warlord in history that does the thing. When Japan is pushing and like took everything, they got nuked, the civil Civil War started, he does the thing where he takes over China politically. And down here they speak Cantonese. Down here they speak Cantonese. The fuck, man? But also, he was the vice president of China, which implies that, like, Chiang Kai-shek kind of integrated the Guangxi clique. And the thing is, a lot of these warlords, don't look at them as nations. Look at them as, like rogue generals. The Communist Party and the Kuomintang worked hand in hand. The Kuomintang are, like, social liberal, communist adjacent. Chiang Kai-shek corrupted the Kuomintang. Do you see what I'm saying? The communists got genocided. They then fled, but regrouped in Shanxi, which of course Mao would pick this spot. This is the best spot ever. The communist Chinese focus tree is amazing. You could do great things with it. And then it's very easy to immediately steamroll all of the warlords and poor little Tibet just being so innocent and sweet and doing slavery. Also, it's one of those things where you can have elections without being the blue color. China, on the other hand, is the blue color China. China is the Western backed China. Your Western capitalist, like, liberal China. But a nice China. I mean, democracy, nationalism, and welfare is the theory. Chiang Kai-shek is not doing that. Chiang Kai-shek, he doesn't care. He is not doing that. Chiang Kai-shek is a corrupt dude. That's why his army is corrupt. But he's a decent general. So I wish he was a field marshal. That was kind of his thing. Napoleon, right? He's tiny, he's angry, and you can kind of decide to cling on to power. Something I like to do, because it's so easy to unite China as just China. One fun thing to do if you're like a decent player is to beat Japan, unite China, and then have a democratic civil war where, like, the lore is like Chiang Kai-shek is clinging on to power, right? But the people want democracy, like they want what they were promised. I don't know, interesting. But who's best? I think there's 3 contenders. I don't think Manchukuo is a contender because I'm lying. I think there's 4 contenders. I think the contenders are Manchukuo, Communist China, China, and the Guangxi clique. The reason the Guangxi clique can do the Chinese miracle very quickly, it has the most civs of any warlord. It has a decent industry base and a decent amount of manpower, right? Like, it can last. It is the warlord that sort of won in lore, almost, because it was like Li Zhongren was very integrated with Chiang Kai-shek. Like, the Guangxi clique should just be like an integrated puppet or something. Don't look at this as a separate thing from the Kuomintang. But they're not as good as, like, the other 3. I think Manchukuo, its focus tree gives you an amazing way to build up your economy and a way to, like, do a lot of damage to Japan. You can get equipment too. You can also get divisions, which again gives you more equipment through your focus tree. You have a decent amount of manpower, and it's fun because you get a cool portrait when Puyi becomes emperor. I think above them though is Communist China, because Communist China steamrolls these warlords. They immediately become like the biggest economy besides China. Everybody who has ever played Communist China basically, like, they have it in the focus tree. Never take this, always justify, but they expand very rapidly. And if you don't deal with them quickly, they beat China, even in like a meta game. It's their fucking terrain, and they don't start with this huge debuff. Okay, I am making a Communist China guide, so if you want to learn how to play them, stay tuned. Why do I think China is still like the best? The reason, it has immediate access to the Chinese miracle right away, which is literally, this is what, like, I was playing China, doing this tree, and I was like, this is the Chinese miracle. China starts with an economy capable of, like, building an air force. I would recommend immediately building mills, because you get civs by conquering, and by the Chinese miracle, you get minus 55% reduction to fucking consumer goods. And that's before you do the shit like free trade or fucking like or war economy. That's before you have any of that. So this is like insanely good. So you just spam mills, which gives you an air force. You put an air base here and you can just cast communist Chinese positions. Boom, 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 boom. You do that immediately. You stall Japan until you united China. But if they do invade, it is possible to hold back communist China and Japan at the same time. It is possible. When Japan takes a Marco Polo bridge incident, always go to war then. You might lose a lot of land if you're not prepared, but you will recover because you're fucking huge. You're China. That's my final lesson. Change the world. Thank you for watching. I would yap more. Like, I'd be talking more. I don't want to leave, but my cat needs to go to the vet because he sprained his ankle because he jumped out the window. So unfortunately, I have to go, but have a good one.